Hello everyone, and welcome back to a new episode of Prismata. We're going to jump in the queue, see who we can find. Not Shadowrow or Jamboree at the moment, although they're playing a 20-second game that's at 5 and a bit minutes. They might very well be done, although I guess Omega might slow things down, but Brooders, right? Well, let's see what they're up to. Ooh. Looks pretty good for Jamboree, but he did have to blow a Frostbite. But he just has so much more attack. Okay, Cluster Bolts, I guess? No, you gotta be a million times losing, right? Game is over. Oh, the sick Immolite exploit. Look at that. Yeah. Well, maybe Jamboree next? I know the game tries to avoid matching you with the same person you just played, so it might not be Shadowrow. No, it's Shadowrow. Alright. Yikes! Red-green pressure stuff. Is Endotherm gettable? That's the main question I have. Like, Electivores and a lot of green stuff are the obvious things. What I don't know is if you is if you can afford to stop off for an Endotherm. I'm considering 1C as an opening here. Green is just outstanding. If I do 1C, I have basically 8 income, which means I can 1A. And then I'll have 9 income. And I can buy, like, Tarsier Vor? Pariah? It seems pretty degenerate, though. I'm not sure if I can make use of the green that I'm gonna have if I'm on, you know, like 10 drones. And of course, with Vivids, I'll be very vulnerable to Cluster Bolts. What's the other line? DD, CA? Seems pretty similar. I have 1 less green, but 1 more dollar. And more defensible drones. I kind of like the green to try to get this Endotherm kit. Maybe this is just too much, but I don't know. I think the same opening from player 1 would be just too strong to deal with here. Engineer? Why? Are you gonna build D1 next turn? D1C? Doesn't seem very good. I could throw in a Gauss Charge next turn if I want. But I want to save my green for the Endotherm, right? Which I think I do want. I guess are they gonna try to cluster bolt and wall me, basically? Or what's the deal? I'm still not honestly sure about this this endotherm kit. It might be too slow. But the thing is, if it lands, I win the game, don't I? Like, game over? So they need to kill me before this happens. And I feel like blue-green might not be the best way to do that. I guess they want to just cluster bolt, basically. And say, look, you can't deal with clusters. Maybe they're right. Maybe I should just build some more attackers instead of this endotherm? Another Tarsier? I don't know. What if instead of this, I got this, freezing their engineers, right? Now they have trouble defending against my 3 attack, right? I could get Gauss charges instead. That might be better. No, because against that they can wall, right? If I attack for 5, which is what this is doing, they can just wall and be perfectly happy. They can't do that against this. Yeah, maybe just getting the cryos faster is more important. So we're getting a Rhino. I think I want a force field. And I kind of need some Engies, right? So these questions all answer themselves, don't they? The thing is, I could consider holding back a Vor and then freezing the Engies instead of getting this Rhino. Right, like this. This exploits, but... And then it's not totally clear what value I'm getting out of this. It means I don't have to build the Rhino. I could build something better instead. But honestly, I'm okay with building a Rhino at the moment, I think. I could freeze the force field to make them lose Engies so that it's easier to freeze their granularity next turn, but it's not really doing anything. They bought the Engies already. I feel pretty sad at this point. I feel like I'm in bad shape. But, I mean, these cluster bolts are only a temporary thing. I assume you get the cryo rays and then you freeze my Rhino so that I have trouble absorbing. And it is a problem for sure. Alright, but they're not going to do that, which means I have an easy time this turn just squeezing in a Tarsier. I feel like it must be good if your opponent is cluster bolting and buying engineers to soak it up, right? Like, I don't know. Shouldn't they be doing something else? They're getting a splitter. I wonder if I could have considered buying something better than this Rhino and offering to let my opponent click the splitter. I don't have any drones. That's a problem. Whoops. Yeah. That's a really big problem. I forgot I can't force field anymore. Oh no. This is the worst. What am I supposed to do with all this green? I have to lose 2 attack here. So this defends. It's their last force field, though. And they're only up 3 drones to be down several attack. Not that many attack, it must be said, since I'm about to lose some. But I have like 4 permanent attack, permanent-ish attack. They have a bunch of green, I guess, is the main thing that gives them cluster bolts. I should probably just buy a bunch of Engies next turn, to be honest. 1 Rhino and 2 Engies. Yeah, this Tarsier was too greedy, I think is what happened. Hang on. I guess I actually can attack with the Vor, but I'd honestly kind of rather have a 2-charge Rhino than a Vor, I think. Would I rather have a 1-charge Rhino, though? Which is what I would have since I'd be attacking with this. I think maybe not. So maybe I can just do this. Because this is the turn they want to build a cluster bolt, right? So we get down the Engies. We have this Rhino. Those are both good things to have. I guess the other thing they have is access to blue, right? And walls. And wall absorb and also wall soak. I have neither. Not clusters, but cryos. Interesting. My cryos have sucked. They haven't done anything. They just made him buy 2 engineers. Couldn't get enough Engies. God. Okay, I'm not actually like that much up in attack. Yeah, I'm actually behind in attack and absorb and drones. Is that correct? I mean, technically I'm attacking for one more this turn. I guess I can finally Cluster Bolt, perhaps. Maybe that'll help somehow. It's a bit tricky though, since I'm sort of losing some attack to do it. I'm like one, if I could just buy one, I'm like a drone short, if I could just buy 2 rhinos, I'd be producing like a lot more defense and making better use of my red. Maybe my first force field was too soon. I don't think that's the problem though. No, I'm just dead. So, I don't know. Like, I guess probably this is just too much. I knew 10 drones was going to be tight. But I thought maybe it would be enough. These cryos also kind of sucked. Like, they literally never did anything. If I'd hung on to them, the excess green, maybe I could have arranged a Cluster Bolt at some point. Hang on, what? Oh, I held the Vor because it wasn't doing anything that turn. Fine. The enemy, I only had the one attacker. Okay. I thought I'd gotten confused about the line where I considered holding Vor and attacking for 3, but no. Yeah. I think that the green was just too... I didn't really do anything with my green. I bought a force field and threw away some money on cryos, and that was all my green did. So I think that the 1C was too... I don't know. Maybe I could have done the endotherm thing, actually. Right? What if this turn I actually get the endotherm kit? That's a way to spend a bunch of green. And if I can survive, then I just breach the Vivids, right? It's pretty hard for my opponent to not have that happen. I assume they're getting this. Probably 2 NGs, splitter. Maybe they're not getting the cluster because they don't have an attacker yet. Probably not, right? I don't know. Yeah, maybe... The thing is, I think, when your opponent has 3 Vivids, landing an endotherm kit with even, you know, 4 or 5 attack is pretty devastating. And so at least doing this establishes a sort of win condition for me. It might not be a great one, but it seems playable. What I actually did basically has the win condition of like out aggro your opponent, and you know, can I do that? I'm up quite a bit of attack, but down, I have like, I don't have walls, and I'm down some drones and some green, and my opponent has force fields. All of these things, I don't know. I imagined I'd be able to make better use of the green I had than I actually was able to. So I think these cryo rays were a big mistake. And maybe the conduit was too, because like the main thing I can do with green is force field, but I just don't have enough drones to do that. Or enough income, because if I force field, like imagine that all these Vivids like were converted to regular drones. But like I was able to buy them with the Vivid drone discount. Let's imagine they just like, there was a $2 drone I could buy. I still don't think I have enough drones here. Because the force fields not only take away your drone supply, but your income. And my income is low enough that I can't really spend stuff if I buy many force fields. So I feel like maybe if these had been Gauss charges, I at least could have done, I don't know. They kept 2 engineers paralyzed all game, which was really the same as, honestly, better than 2 Gauss charges, right? Which would have just killed 2 engineers. Or really, like, made him lose wall instead of engineer at some point. So these cryo rays I don't think were any worse than Gauss charges. But they didn't do much, that's for sure. An endotherm kit I think would have done more. But I could also just be in a losing spot here. I don't know, when my opponent gets the 3rd Vivid, like, yeah. I was worried that endotherm is slow enough that he would somehow kill me before it landed, but... You know, with clusters was my thinking. But he's so invested in blue that it seems like he should have trouble doing that, and I should just go for it. Maybe that loses too, I don't know. And the other possibility is that, like, turn 1 was wrong and I should have waited another turn, but... I don't know, that's the thing about, like, we've talked before about, you know, how Elliot discovered the turn 2 Animus line, which at the time people thought was just laughably bad. It's very inefficient, it floats 2 gold, it commits you to spending a bunch of tech when you only have 8 drones, like, how could this be good? And basically his point was, and he's written an article about it, you can go look up, you know, Elliot Animus if you want. The player 1 turn 2 Animus. I mean, obviously player 2 turn 2 Animus is quite strong. Player 1 turn 2 Animus is never something you're happy to do, but at some point one player has to commit to building attackers first, and the longer you wait, the stronger that decision is. So great, why would you ever do it early? Well, because if your opponent does it first, eventually, like, doing it first becomes so good that doing it before your opponent is important. Like, Fastimus tends to be stronger than Natural Animus because around that point of the game, you know, getting attackers first is worthwhile. But if Fastimus is such a hugely winning line, then player 1 can undercut it with a turn 2 Animus of their own. And you generally, Elliot showed, should, like, try to do this when it's around 50% chance of winning. If you wait long enough that Animus, or whatever, by you has 100% chance of winning, your opponent can undercut it by getting an attacker first and be ahead of you. By a lot. So all this to say that, like, this 1C feels terrible, but I was worried about 1C from my opponent on turn 2 and thinking, like, that's pretty good, isn't it? And they get to do stuff like this, although I kind of would have liked Animus. Electivore and is good, but I guess so are walls. Yeah. I think if I was going to do this, I should have at least tried Endotherm Kit. I don't know if it would have won. Anyway, that's why I tried this, like, ridiculous-looking opening, because I thought that if I let my opponent get first conduit, I'd be in bad shape, and there's a lot of low-econ red-green stuff here. Which is true, but I didn't really take into account how well I would be able to use it, and what would happen if I ever had to force field. Which reminds me, did I have to force field? Kind of. I mean, I could have built 2 rhinos, I guess. Maybe I should have. No, because then I'd be losing all my NGs and the Vors would die off. So I kind of had to force field here, and this is not a good spot. Okay. Well, that'll do it for this episode. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.